let's make some predictions you can be wrong about.
Good.
What major political people are you thinking will run in 2024, including Trump, Jr. or Senior, or Ivanka? I don't know. Any Trump. And who do you think wins?
I think Joe Biden will run again in 2024, and I think he will run against someone with the last name Trump. I do not know whether that is Trump or Trump Jr., but I think one of those people will probably be the GOP nominee in 2024.
Who was it? Some prominent political figure. Was it Romney? Somebody like that said that Trump will win the primary if he runs again.
Of course. That's not even a question. Trump is the single most popular figure in the Republican Party by orders of magnitude.
Still.
Oh, I mean, probably more, honestly. There was actually, I can tell you because I saw the data, which is that pre-January 6th, it was like 54% of Republicans wanted him to run again. Then it went down 8 points after January 6th, 2 days later. And then after impeachment, it went right back up to 54%. So the exact same number is in February at post-impeachment vote as it was after November. Now, look, yeah, again, surveys, bullshit, etc. But like, that's all the data we have. That's what I can point you to. If Trump runs, he will be the nominee, and he will be the 2024 nominee. I just don't know if he wants to. It really depends. Like,
do you think he wins after the Trump vaccine heals all of us? Do you think Trump wins?
It depends on how popular culture functions over the next 4 years. And I can tell you that they are, because I don't think Biden has that much to do with it. Because again, Trump is not a manifestation of an affirmative policy action. Yeah. It is a defensive bulwark wall against cultural liberalism at its best. So it's like, this is why it doesn't matter what Biden does. If there are more riots, if there is a more sense of persecution amongst people who are more lean towards conservative or like, hey, I don't know about that, that's crazy, then he very well could win. Let's say Joe Biden doesn't run and they put up like Kamala Harris. I think he would beat her. And I don't think there's a question that Trump would beat Kamala Harris in 2024.
And you don't think anybody else, I don't know how the process works. You don't think anybody else on the Democratic side can take the...
Well, how could you run against the sitting vice president? You know, it's like if Joe Biden has a 98% approval rating in the Democratic Party. If he says she is my heir, I think enough people will listen to him in a competitive primary or a non-competitive primary. And then there's all these things about how primary systems themselves are rigged. The DNC could make it known that they'll blacklist anybody who does try and primary Kamala Harris. And look, I mean, progressives aren't necessarily all that popular amongst actual Democrats. Like, we found that out during the election. There's an entire constituency which loves Joe Biden and Joe Biden level politics. And so if he tells them to vote for Kamala, I think she would probably get it. But again, there's a lot of game theory obviously happening.
But see, I think you're talking about everything you're saying is correct about mediocre candidates. It feels like if there's somebody like a really strong, I don't want to use this term incorrectly, but populist, somebody that speaks to the 80% is able to provide bold, eloquently described solutions that are popular, I think that breaks through all of this nonsense.
How? How do they break through the primary system? Because the problem is the primary system is not populism. It's primary. So it's like...
But you don't think they can tweet their way to...
Well, you have to be willing to win a GOP primary. You basically have to be at... Whoever wins the GOP primary, in my opinion, will be the person most hated by the left. One of the things that people forget is, you know who came in second to Trump? Ted Cruz. And the reason why is because Ted Cruz was the second most hated guy by liberals in America, second to Trump. They have nothing in policy in common.
But don't you think this kind of brilliantly described system of hate being the main mechanism of our electoral choices?
Yeah.
Don't you think that just has to do with mediocre candidates? It's basically the field of candidates, including Trump, including everybody, was just like, didn't make anyone feel great.
Right.
It's like, really? This is what we have to choose from?
Maybe a Mark Cuban, or like Mark Cuban as a Democrat, or it would have to be somebody like that. Somebody who, because here's the thing about Trump. It's not just that it was Trump. He was so fucking famous. Like, people don't realize he was so famous. Like, even when I first met Trump, I met a couple of other presidents, but when I met Trump, even I felt like kind of starstruck because I was like, yo, this is the guy from The Apprentice.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the dude. Like,
From The Apprentice?
Yeah, like, because I'm like, my dad and I used to sit and watch The Apprentice when I was in high school. And then one of the guys was from College Station where I grew up, and we're like, oh my God, like, that guy's on The Apprentice. Like, it was a phenomenon. There's like that level. It's kind of like when I met Joe Rogan. I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking Joe Rogan. I don't feel that way when I meet Mitt Romney or Tom Cotton or Josh Hawley. And I met all of them.
But there's a lot of celebrities, right? Do you think there's some celebrities we're not even thinking about that could step in? The Rock?
Have to be. So I was about to say, I think The Rock could do it. But does he want to do it? I mean, it's terrible. Like, it's a terrible gig. It's very hard to do. I don't know if The Rock necessarily has like the formed policy agenda. Because then here's the other problem. What if we set ourselves up for a system where like these people keep winning, but like with Trump, they have no idea how to run a government. Yeah. It's actually really hard, right? And you have to have the know-how and the trust to find the right people. This is where the genius element comes in, is you have to understand that front, and you have to understand how to execute discrete tasks. Like, this is the FDR. This is why it's so hard. Like, FDR, Lincoln, TR. They were who they were, and they live in history, and their name rings like for a reason.